If I can just try and get a few of the general points that came out of our presentations this morning. I think we all agree we need to look at the future. We're preparing for Nagoya and beyond, and I think the Pescasseroli Declaration that is in your pack is a clear expression of that, and I think you will be discussing that later. So I hope you can all agree of this statement to really ask our political leaders to take action. We've talked a lot about funding, very important, how to find funding, how to integrate what we do with the other sectors, and see if we can find ways and means to pool resources. Several of the speakers this morning, if not all of them, talked about education, communication, awareness. We need to get the message out. Local implementation. It's great to have the policies from CBD, from EU, but we need to implement at the local level, and that is your role. Talked about restoration, very important where possible. So not just thinking about halting the loss, but restoring what has been lost in the past. Traditional knowledge. How can we bring back the people that actually value nature? And last, this whole issue of green infrastructure. How can we actually use nature for future development? So I guess maybe to kick it off, I'd like to ask the panelists to reflect a little bit personally. This question of how do you integrate nature, biodiversity into the wider community, other sectors, the landscape. I'd like to get a bit of a perspective. And maybe, Erica, I start with you, as you haven't spoken this morning.
Thank you. I would have preferred to speak the last, but well, I wanted actually to reflect on the role that our members and the EUROPARC Federation has in this respect, and would like to refer especially to the last words Stefan Leiner had in his presentation in talking about our support for making it happen. And actually, I think we have a critical role in making it happen, because our protected areas have a 100-year experience in biodiversity conservation, but also involvement of key stakeholders. So I would like to emphasize on this, and actually I would like to bring your attention now to the Pescasseroli Declaration that you all had on your chairs. This is the declaration we would like to submit to the Commission and also to national governments to explain what is our role in this process and to bring the attention to the huge network we can offer as a support to implement everything that Stefan was saying and indeed what the previous speakers were emphasizing on.
I think the most important thing that happens inside the human head. If we perceive and tell people that these things are beautiful, people will start to think they are. And I'll give a really simple example. When I told people I was coming to Abruzzo National Park, which is 2 hours from Rome, and it has brown bears and wolves, I had a response like, "You're kidding. There is such a thing? 2 hours from Rome?" It was amazing. People don't know this. This is a fantastic place. It should be one of the prides of Europe. And we don't talk about it. So talk it up.
Communication.
One of my colleagues who passed away here recently, Brian O'Neill, coined the term friend-raising instead of fundraising. And I think that is absolutely key to the long-term sustainability of protected areas as well as biodiversity on the larger landscape, is really we need to build friends of these places. And we have a tendency to talk to ourselves about this rather than seeking new audiences. new places, to remind people that of the values of these places, not just their beauty, but through the arts, through music, through the medical community, in which Australia and Victoria have really done an extraordinary job of connecting the value of public health to the outdoors. And by connecting to each of these sectors, we've talked about the economic sectors, but we need to have a strategy for each of these sectors to remind everyone of their value.
I just talked, I think, enough, so I'd rather have the other panelists saying what their views on this issue.
One very important requirement is to communicate the true values. Unfortunately, the true value of the biodiversity or the protected areas are not really registered either with the policymakers or even the public. We always say that the biodiversity is the life, but we really don't attribute the actual value. And also about the actual contribution of the protected areas, not only for the biodiversity conservation, but to the economic development. For example, about 40 major cities in the world, they get their fresh water supply from the protected areas. But the municipal corporations of these 40 major cities did not take into account the actual contribution. They don't factor the value the protected areas really contribute towards its economic development. It is not the case. So what is really more important is what is the actual contribution of the protected areas in the monetary terms to make an economic case. For example, all the 3 national parks, how they are really contributing to the local economy, how they are contributing to the GDP of the Italy, whether the Italian government is really factoring this contribution in providing the financial support to this. So that kind of a valuation and making this communication is most important for this.
Thank you. In my view, we're faced with a significant challenge, and in any time a major challenge such as we have, I think, listening to our speakers this morning, very clearly we need a plan. We need to be able to communicate that plan simply. And Harvey, I think this morning, posed a proposition, very simple proposition, but very powerful. It's a challenging plan, but 50-50 is very simple to communicate. That's a way to re-energise our constituency, because our constituency, in many ways, in some quarters, are tired. It has been a long fight, but there is a long way to go. So a simple plan, easy to communicate. And I can only reiterate John Jarvis's words as well. Look to the new constituency as well. Find ways to communicate with those people who you may disagree with, but look for opportunities to agree on key things and bring that constituency to your task. Because at the end of the day, it is only people that will make a difference for all of us. There are many forces, there are many issues at play, but connecting to new constituencies, looking for that common ground, working that into your plan, communicating that simply, I think is a powerful opportunity for us all. Thank you. Yep.
Ma è un po' strano perché sono in Italia, sono l'unico che parla italiano a questo tavolo, quindi mi preoccupa un po'. Solo una riflessione velocissima. Ci sono persone che difendono la natura, che vanno nei parchi, che sono sensibili alla natura e poi vanno a mangiare da McDonald's. Non va bene. Non va bene, perché quel comportamento è un comportamento sbagliato, perché quella scelta alimentare è una scelta alimentare che è contro la difesa dell'ambiente, perché i modelli di produzione, ma io non ce l'ho con McDonald's, ognuno fa cosa vuole, ma bisogna creare la consapevolezza che oggi gli stili alimentari sono fondamentali nella tutela e nella difesa dell'ambiente. Questo è un elemento di grande innovazione perché può mettere in relazione le scelte virtuose, importanti, che possono essere fatte nei parchi con il resto. La gente non deve vedere i parchi come, torno a dire, fortini dentro i quali si difende la biodiversità e poi tutto il resto può andare a ramengo. Non funziona così, non funzionerà così in un futuro. Le aree anche marine di cui si è parlato sono aree marine che possono essere difese se per esempio le persone sostengono una campagna che Slow Food sta portando avanti che si chiama Mangiamoli Giusti, dove noi incominciamo a dire che non bisogna più mangiare certi tipi di pesci, bisogna non andare più nei ristoranti che cucinano il tonno rosso perché è in via di estinzione. Dobbiamo dare una mano alle comunità dei piccoli pescatori che fanno una pesca sostenibile e che è quella che consente alle aree protette di andare avanti. Noi abbiamo un bel progetto a Torre Guaceto, è un'area marina che è stata recuperata e lì abbiamo dimostrato che recuperando l'area, lavorando con i pescatori, questi qui escono a pescare una sola volta alla settimana, fanno una pesca sostenibile, c'è un pesce di grande qualità che riescono a vendere ad un prezzo giusto. Allora, queste sono le iniziative che rendono concreto, quotidiano la nostra coerenza dal punto di vista della tutela dell'ambiente. Questa è la battaglia che Slow Food vuole fare e che può fare assieme a voi.